Yep. Good day, everybody. Yes, we have been rushing as usual. Always rushing, aren't we? Always rushing.
There's so much to do.
Oh, hang on a second. I've got one or two more things I have to do on here. We've got to press auto on that. There we go. So there we go. Can everybody hear me? And also, can everybody hear Louise?
Hello.
And
I've got nothing else to say.
There's nothing else to say. You don't shut up when we're at home. When you come into work, you just flip it. All right, everybody. Good. Good. So how is everybody today? It's Monday. We are still on lockdown here in the UK. We are still closed.
Tier 400 now?
Tier 6, you look out your window and you're immediately handcuffed and sent into prison. I'm only joking. All right, everybody. So there we go. How's your week been today, Louise?
Very busy.
How's your week been?
I've had a busy week. What have we been doing?
You've been doing some studying.
I have been doing some studying.
In private, but private time, obviously.
In private.
In private. Yes, you've been doing some studying.
I have been doing my studying, yeah.
You've been doing your Gem A.
I have.
And how's that going?
It's going very well.
I'm just sorting my chair out a minute. Yes, good.
I have to do in science. You didn't tell me I have to do in
science.
Science.
Oh my God, forget that.
Because when I did the GIA, that was excellent and comprehensive, but there was a breadth rather than a depth of knowledge. And yes, it was a bit more of an overview, but this is
you're being thrown into the deep end straight away.
In a good way, yes, yeah. So that's really good.
Good.
So it's just keeping on top of it now. Yeah.
But the thing is, you're expected to make mistakes, and that's the only way to learn, isn't it? You submit the reports, and you're never going to get them all right straight away. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing the course, would you?
Yeah.
But you don't like that. You don't like being, I need to know, don't you?
Yeah, I want to be top of the class. That's the problem. And there's always, I don't know, it's a bit of a minefield, isn't it? There's so much that you think you know, and then when you start saying you think you know it, somebody goes, no, that's completely
It's
wrong.
like, I can't get my head around transparency, translucent, opaque and transparent. It's pretty black and white, isn't it? But what's translucent? And as you say, do the inclusions in a stone affect?
I think they do. But again, it could potentially be open to interpretation. It's only experience, I suppose, that's going to help you there, isn't it? And looking at stones and being told whether you're doing it right or wrong.
Yes.
So
it is experience, just looking at stones and seeing the stones and saying to the tutors, well, is this stone translucent, is this stone transparent? And then they'll come back, and that's the only way you're going to learn, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of new concepts I'm trying to get my nut around at the moment. So yeah, it's really, really good. Oh, which brings me on to this week. My course of Facebook surfing brought me to Gemology Rocks. So I had the pleasure of meeting the lovely Kerry from Gemology Rocks on Friday?
Friday, wasn't it? Yes.
Yeah, so we had a good chat on Zoom, obviously. So she is launching, or she's launched actually, courses, this is quite exciting, courses for jewellers and jewellery designers. Basically... for jewellers and jewellery designers, and it's all about if maybe you're a jeweller or a metalsmith who uses stones, maybe you don't and you're wanting to get into using stones. So yeah, it's all about making sure you can buy and actually, sell your finished products more confidently, really.
By knowing about gemstones.
Yeah.
And exploring them. Yeah. Okay.
So that's all available now. The courses are ready, not like our courses.
But we're still virtually finished. You say like...
Yeah. Anyway, Andrew, we're talking about somebody else.
Sorry.
So they're ready to go. I'll pop the link up in the chat because it's definitely going to be worth a look. I think January looks to be full already. So yeah, there's another course. It's all done online now, February. What else do we need to say?
Yeah, February starts Tuesdays. Yeah. And she also does what you actually like the sound of. Gemology and gin.
Gin and gemology. And as soon as I thought that's something I could get on board with, I think.
This woman straight away. So perhaps at some stage you can also put her Facebook page up as well.
Yes.
Because then, is it live most Fridays, isn't it?
It's Friday, 6 o'clock. I missed it this Friday because I was finishing the last of the Christmas avocado, I'll be honest, and I forgot. but I'm going to tune in this Friday anyway. So yes.
So that's this
So
one.
that's
So
worth-
pop up a link up on the chat as well when you do that, and do
definitely.
that a few times,
That's
and
a
everyone can go
couple
and
of
have a
links.
look.
Yeah.
And if you happen to be then watching Kerry chatting about gemology and all that, and there's a little chat box, isn't there, with Facebook? You can talk about it, and if you're on there and you want to say hello to Kerry, please do. And if you say hello, just mention that we recommended her to you, and that would be absolutely wonderful of you if you wanted just to have a look. But it is quite interesting what she does.
Yes, and she makes it fun as well. It's not kind of stuffy or, yeah, you won't be bored or not. Well, it's not a boring topic, is it? But it's, yeah, it'll certainly be fun and relevant and worth a look.
And there's also other things that she does, isn't it? Like a Monday motivation this morning. I heard you listening to that when you while you were doing your hair this morning.
Ready and I did listen to that, yeah.
Listen to your Monday motivation.
Yeah.
And she does lots of things. So again, post up the link to the Facebook. And
I would actually. I've got it on my
brilliant.
little thing here that I see if it works today. Does it want to
Okay.
work?
Yep, there it is.
Yeah,
Cool.
excellent.
Okay, so that's Gemology Rocks. Yeah, excellent. So that's about it, really. Always busy. We haven't stopped. What else we've been doing?
Website,
theandrewberry.com, implementing lots of things into there with the IT guy as well. We're doing things like rewards and gift cards and all that sort of thing. So that's all been going really, really good. Oh my gosh,
it's just like trying to think of new things all the time, isn't it? New innovative, new...
Yeah, you're trying to create a good customer experience, aren't you? It's not just as simple as having the website and a buy button, because that's just not what it's all about. You need to have all the other bells and whistles that go with it as well, don't you? Like to try and get customers to come back to you. How do you do that?
Yeah, I personally,
repeat
I think it's... Well, we know it's cheaper to retain customers than it is to...
Absolutely.
Than it is to find new. So yeah, it's all really interesting, new things that now the shop's closed, we kind of have to look into, isn't it?
Have to think, innovate new ideas, new ways to get people to come and buy.
Yes.
So there we go. What should we do? Should we do a question and answer?
Would you like a question? Yeah,
Not
that's what we're
quite
here
yet.
for.
Not quite yet. It is now the 18th of January. Where is the year going? We haven't even opened the door, either.
It's nuts, isn't it?
It is absolutely nuts. 3 weeks into it. Right, Lisa, no.
Or just no.
No, no. The news is, Louise and I went out for a walk the other day, and Louise went, Andrew, how are the courses coming along? And I said, Louise, I keep telling you, we've virtually finished. We need now to sit down just to finalise the projects. That's all we need to do. And I said to you, I need you to look for some nice ideas for me that you think would be suitable. So I'm passing it on to you. I see I'm passing it on to you now. Yeah.
But you're the expert.
No, but then you can. Okay.
You make, I sell. That's how it works.
Okay, so we are virtually there. Virtually, we need to do 2 more films to do with drilling and piercing. 2 more films, and then a couple of project films, and we're done. Everything else is done. There's a list of films like this that I've done. It's virtually there. It's so much work. Again, it's not just a simple matter of just chucking the films on. It's everything else that goes with it as well. Oh, the other thing that you have to do.
Me?
You have to then go through all the films, so like virtually like transcribe, so we get all handouts as well.
Give me the films then, I'll do it.
I have to sign you up, won't I? Right, it is Monday the 18th of January, time for a Q&A session. Please, Louise, may we have our first question?
I think we better had. Okay, Iona is asking, when making a split shank ring, what is the best way to cut into the metal so that the line stays straight on the front and opposite side? When I tried this, the line was off on the opposite side.
It is. This is quite a good question. So what I would always do is I would cut the shank whilst it's straight for a start. What I would do, if you cut the shank when it's already in the ring, yeah, say it's ring like this and you cut down, the cut here is going to be sort of like that, and when you spread the shank on top, you're going to see quite a bit of this. You ideally want the insides like that. So what I would do is have your piece of metal, your strip of metal. So it is, let me draw it like this here. So this is like, for argument's sake, you've got a nice D section. We want to cut through and make a split shank. So what I would do, instead of having your piercing saw that is this way, okay, and cutting, because as you cut and you're cutting towards this way, if your saw is perfectly vertical, brilliant, congratulations. Yeah, I think what Ione is talking about is that her saw is not vertical and she's perhaps sawing like this, so the top is looking really good but the bottom is well out. So you've got to practice your sawing. But for those who are not practicing with their sawing and who want a bit of an easier way of doing this, is to start to saw not vertical but an angle. So you're sawing, okay, so this is your handle, there's your teeth. So you're sawing at an angle, okay? So this is the metal, you're sawing like this. So in one respect, when you're sawing, the top here, or the blade, is going along the surface here, but you're not really cutting underneath too much, yeah? So what I'd advise you to do is to start to saw until you've sawn this much. Let me put that dotted, yeah? And then you have a look then to see where your saw is coming through underneath. Then you get your metal and you turn your metal over like that. So now your bit of metal has the saw cut that is going this way, right? And now you start to saw this way, so you cut the top. Does that make sense? So you cut the top, you turn it over, you cut the bottom. Okay, so then it ends up like that. So you guide the saw, you can see the top, yep, and as soon as the bottom part of the saw down here starts to cut through down here, so the saw now has gone that far into the metal, okay, the saw blade is just starting to come through, turn the metal upside down, and then start to cut the other side. And that is going to be the best one. Then once you've done that, turn it back 180 degrees, carry on sawing a little bit further, then turn it over 180 degrees and carry on sawing that way. And that way you can saw each side and you can see the outside and the inside. And then once you've got your shank with the saw cut running there and running there, then you can bend it round into a round ring, or if you wanted to, you can simply splay it out beforehand like that. And then bend it round. But it's easier to open it up whilst you've got it straight, because you can get your penknife in there and wiggle it either side, and you can get them nice and even. But that's going to be the best way to get the top and the bottom of the metal cut nice and straight. I'm not quite sure what's happening with my board by there. There we go. So there we go. That's how we do that. May we have a next question, please, Louise?
Yes, you can. Lorraine is asking you to recommend the very best metal shears to cut metal sheet up to 18 grams.
Gauge.
Gauge, yes. I knew that.
Okay, here's my tables again. Metal shears. I got a gauge 8, hang on. I got all these by here. Where's my metal gauge? What's that in English? 18 gauge. Here we go. 18 gauge is 1 mil. The very best. I honestly don't know. Sorry, I was on Louise all the time. Sorry about that. I just simply buy a pair of snips, some shears, some straight shears, and they're nothing fantastic. They're just basic. Let's zoom in on this one. There we go. These are just basic shears. I think these are about 18, 20 pounds, nice and straight, nothing fantastic, but this is all that I use. And I don't abuse them, I just cut them, I just cut a piece of metal with them. I don't know necessarily there's a good brand, there's a bad brand. These were from a company in the UK, from Sutton Tools, Bet Metal Sales they are now, and they're nice. They are nice, sharp, pointed almost like, they call them like tin snips as well. But as long as the joint is nice and sharp, nice and tight, you should be able to cut a piece of metal. So I can't recommend the very, very best. I would have thought some people would say, well, probably the very best is going to be the most expensive. And if you want to go down that route, I suppose you can do. But I'm always prepared to have a pair of shears, and if they start to become blunt, I'll simply throw them away and get another pair. But saying that, the pair that I've got downstairs, I must have had for about 10 or 12 years. And we use them every day for cutting pallions of solder. We use it for cutting copper, some copper sheets and copper strips. But we never usually cut silver with them because it always warps and distorts the metal. So, I'm very high, aren't I? I'm always up there. Should lower that down a bit. So I wouldn't. Louise is going to have a go at lowering now. You're connected to your microphone. Right. Now, see that that nut on the wing nut? No. On the actual shaft itself. Down. Whoop! That. Yeah.
This?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I'm basically going to drop on your hat here. You got it.
I see.
Oh, she's good.
Little face.
All the way down.
All right.
All the way.
All right.
All the way. All the way. All the way.
Thank you.
Yep, I'm not. Oh, what have you done now? You've gone too low now.
Look, I've done my best.
There's an earthquake. What are you doing? That's fine. Leave it where that is. That's
How do I tighten it? Like this?
Yeah, and tighten it back up.
Oh no! The whole thing's going. Okay, no, it's not. It's fine.
This was a bad idea. This was a bad. What are you doing? Do you know, it was easier to do it by yourself. What are you doing, Louise? Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Right, let's go back up to where we were.
Oh, I'm nothing if not professional at all times.
Anyway, there we go. Right, well done, Louise. Thank you for that.
Sorry, everybody.
Maybe have a next question.
Yeah. Let's just finish the question.
What was it? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Now, Susan has had her vice shears for 10 years. People just don't really wear them out, do they?
Okay.
Next question.
Tanya is asking, is it a bad thing to use too much borax when soldering, please?
Nah, you can never have too much borax.
No? Okay.
It's good to have borax because it actually protects. Oh, what have you done to this? Look at this now. We're all over the place. We're slightly askew now, aren't we? No, you're fine.
I thought you were the last one to tell.
You're fine. You're fine with borax. Plenty of borax is good, isn't it? Because it acts as... that's fine. Yes. No. It's not. What was the question? Is it possible to have too much? No.
Is it a bad thing to use too much borax?
No, not at all.
No. Okay.
Next question.
Okay. Sorry, because of all that silliness now, I've lost my place. Okay, right. Paul is asking for 2.5mm square stones for a channel setting. What would you use width and depth? What would you use width and depth of the section, as we'll need correct size from dealer as no mill? Okay,
so you've got square section stones, the 2.5 obviously by 2.5. You do then have a depth, which I don't know what that would be. There is a proportion to work it out. I don't know what your depth's going to be. So if you have 2.5, okay. So I would allow, depending on how good you are, I would allow, say 1.5mm for your border, and I would add 1.5mm on that border. So that's 3. So you're looking at 5.5mm, aren't you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have 1.5, you can always file down the outside edges a little bit. So 5.5mm. Depth-wise, you really want the channel to be level with the top of the stone. That's the pen, not me. And then obviously then you don't want the culet, which is this part of the stone, Louise. You should be knowing these two ones well. Well done. The culet by here must not be protruding. So the ring doesn't need to be up here. The ring needs to come down to protect it. Depending on how good you are, again, I would come to something like around about 3/4 to 1 millimeter below the length of the culet. So measure this distance here from the table to the culet, add on about 1 millimeter for that extra, and then for the width metal here, that's what I would do then. 1.5 to 1.5.
Depth.
Okay, 2 mil depth. So I would make that 3 mil. So you need a piece of metal, say 6 by 3. Yeah, like that. Allowing for trimming the outside edges a little bit. You need to be taken off, or you could even get away with 5 mil, which leaves you 2.5 millimeters then divided by 2 for the sides here. So yeah, it depends on how accurate you are, but yeah, 5 by 3 I think would be just about right. May we have our next question then, please?
Yes. Julia is trying to make Alan Revere's hoop earrings. Did I say his name right?
Yeah.
I have tried using a thick magazine and wood with a dip in it to help form curves, but not good results. How would you make these convex forms? I would use wood. Okay, so I would definitely use a nice, a piece of like a 4x2 piece of wood. Yeah, or 2x2 or whatever you've got. Here's the grain running this way. Yeah. And then I would get something like a ball peen hammer and really bash a big dent in here, okay, in the end grain. Bash it, or just get a little drill and drill some little holes to take away some wood, and then get a ball peen hammer, which is obviously like that, which is like a ball peen here, on that maybe a cross peen, and bash a hole, a dent in the end piece of wood. Don't try and put it in this part of the wood here, but dent this part here. Or you can simply get something like a doming punch as well and put that in the hole and bang that with a hammer. As long as you get a nice dip into that, like that there, then you can use your ball peen hammer, or again you can use your doming punch just to make that concave shape that would go in there. So that would be my best bet. I can't remember what Alan suggests, and I don't have my book to hand, but that's what I would do. The end of a piece of wood, simple bit of pine, something like that would be fine. It's going to dent nice and easily. Say pine will shatter, oak wood or maple.
I would not have thought the pine is going to shatter. You have a bit of 3x2.
It's soft, isn't it, pine? So
that's the idea. I wouldn't use oak. You're never going to bash a dent in oak. Have a piece of 3x2, 4x2, something like that. You only have a little hole in the middle, like that. You're not doing an awful lot. There's still plenty of strength left in the wood. So no, I wouldn't say the pine would shatter at all. If you're trying to split it and you get a chisel down here, I can understand it. But all you're doing is just simply hitting a dent into the end of it. And I've done that with some of the projects we've done on At the Bench as well, and that works absolutely fine. Maybe have our next question, please, Louise.
Yes, Julie is asking, what is the best way to solder a jump ring onto a small heart with diamonds, with the diamond set in it, without taking the diamond out?
You can use something called thermogel, cool heat, which is a thermal barrier. Simply use that.
Is that that's horrible.
Yeah, that's the one feels like cold dog's poo,
Yeah.
which I imagine what cold dog poo feels like when you squidge it. Okay.
Okay.
So say you have a heart. Is it a heart with a diamond in it? Is it or pendant with a? Yeah, and you want to solder jumping on the top of it like that. Yeah.
Onto a small heart with a diamond set in it.
Okay, so here's a diamond on the front. You want to solder a little jump ring on the top of that. What I would do is either put this. So here's your heart. Yeah, the diamond is down here. And you're trying to put a little jumping on the end of it like that. That's like a 3-dimensional, and the stone is set in there like that. That looks rude, but there we go. Okay, so your flame is by here. So the flame does not go on the diamond. Make sure there is no dirt or anything behind the stone, because if there is, the dirt will burn behind the stone. Then you can't really clean it very well. But if you put the diamond away from the direct of the heat, then bring your torch by here, in this area by here, you should be able to solder a jump ring on the end like that. Alternatively, get some cool heat or some thermogel and put it within a pile over that little area, and that will protect the diamond on there. Don't have it so the stone...
The diamond is almost the size of the gold heart. So the diamond... The heart is small, but the diamond isn't.
Okay.
So the diamond is, well, comparatively, okay. The diamond is almost the size of the gold heart.
How is this diamond set into the heart? Because if it's that big, you take it out. Because there's not much point trying to ruin a couple of £100 diamond for the sake of soldering a jump ring on it. If it's a small little one like this, that's only like perhaps like 1 millimetre, 2 millimetre max, something like that would be fine. Anything bigger than that, just take the stone out, because it's better to take it out, solder it, rather than ruin the diamond should anything happen to it.
It's rub over setting.
I would, what torch have you got as well? Because if you've got like these little butane torches, it's going to take a long time and perhaps I wouldn't do it. But if you've got something like this with the oxygen, so 4 mil quarter carat, can you do? I'd take it.
4 mil rub over setting.
Ask somebody to laser weld a jump ring on for you. I think so. You can.
A wee torch.
You got a wee torch. In that case.
Wee's in post today. I don't know.
I wouldn't chance it. You got a quarter carat diamond. What's that retail? 250 quid, 300 quid. It's not worth the risk. Myself, you trying to do it. If you get some thermogel or some cool heat, you could do it. You could have the pile of cool heat like that. You could then put your diamond into here, so the diamond is in this way by here. But then when you go to solder on the jump ring here, because you've got the cool heat down here, protecting the diamond, you're going to need quite a bit of heat, and this jump ring may melt before this part is actually heated up. So there's lots of things to think about. But if you're not a seasoned solderer and you don't have something like an oxygen and propane torch, I wouldn't risk it. I would perhaps send it to somebody who does some laser welding or who has a Lampert puck welder, and I would ask them to put the jump ring on and then think twice about afterwards, is it better to solder on? I don't know what the circumstances are, but solder on before you put that into place, because that's quite a big diamond and I wouldn't want anything to happen to it. May we have the next question, please, Louise?
Yeah, Ashley. Ashley is asking if you're using a small sea glass setting on a wide band ring, is it okay to solder the bezel straight onto the band and not use a back plate?
It depends, I think, on if the bezel is going to be substantial enough. If the bezel is really thin, then perhaps the action of putting the ring on and off is going to perhaps pull out the bezel. So if the bezel is perhaps you're using sterling silver and it's in the region around about 1 millimetre, at least 1 millimetre thick, you should be okay. If it's fine silver and it's 1 millimetre thick, you may need to have a bit of a back plate or another ring inside. So for argument's sake, that's the cross section of your bezel. For argument's sake, your stone goes in here. You may need to put perhaps another ring inside or something going around, or a jump ring, half a jump ring going on the inside, just to strengthen that bezel, because it may not be enough, because if you put your shank here and your shank on there, it may pull the whole bezel out. So fine silver, it's got to be quite thick. If it's sterling silver, you should be okay and be able to get away with about 1 millimetre thick bezel on that, definitely. Next question, please.
Okay. Dalen, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, is asking, what's the best way of keeping pieces in place while soldering? Thought you'd have time to scoff your sweets then.
I did. we are getting into stock very soon the titanium soldering strips. These are absolutely ideal. What size are these? 4 1/4, 5. They're about 5mm in size. These titanium strips are absolutely brilliant. Some people have problems trying to bend them. I'm not quite sure why you'd have a problem, because they're quite nice and bendable. These would be ideal because you can bend them into all sorts of shapes like this, and you can use them as little clamps like that. You can also use a third hand and use the cross-lock tweezers to hold things in place as well. It just depends really on what you're soldering. Just let me know what sort of things you want to solder. That would be the easiest way. Put things upon the soldering block in front of you like that, and then you can get your little third hand by the side of you here, and you can arrange them and perhaps hold the ring on top, hold the bezel on top, hold the jump ring on top of whatever it is you're sort of trying to solder. Just let me know what you want to solder. I'll give you some sort of better idea then on what the best sort of technique would be to do that. Next question. Oh, and don't forget, yes, so the titanium strips should be available within a week on the website andrewberry.co.uk. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay, Scrap Over Engineering is saying, I have a set of ornate brass clock hands from a popular type of Dutch clock from the 60s or 70s. They seem to be cast in a half open mould. Is this a technique I can do at home?
Well, the camera's on me then. That's mine, that's my favourite. You've had a bag already. There. Your special one's in there, the ring.
Thank you.
Is it, you can, I suppose, yes, you can. You can use your delved clay to do this if you wanted to, which is, you can make it like an open ingot mold, couldn't you? So I don't know how your Dutch hands are going to be. I don't know whether they are like that. I've no idea. Did you want to make these into rings, wasn't it? Was it make them into rings a bit later on? So say it's like that. You then would get perhaps your frame, like an aluminium frame or small little box, compact some delved clay into it, Petrobond, some delved clay sand, smash it down really, really hard, scoop off the top, then push the hand into it, and then you should be able to get, you know, your impression, and then your frame would be around there like that, and you should be able to pour the metal in. When you pour the metal in, if it's quite thin here, you may need to sort of just pour it and drag the ingot mold, or drag your crucible along to pour it into place. No point trying to pour it into here and expecting it to travel like aluminium does or like iron does in the foundries. You may need to give you a bit of gold or a bit of silver, a little bit of a helping hand, and when you pour it into place, because it's going to solidify. So say, let's put that away. So say this is where you push the hand into this area here. You've got very, very shallowness. You've got your, here's your crucible here, and here's your gold about to splurge out onto there. And as it splurges out, you move the crucible forward so it pours and pours all the way along as it comes out. And that'd be the best way. Otherwise, it's going to solidify if you start at one end and expect it to flow, because it won't flow. Nice to see that, wouldn't it? Was it a ring?
Didn't say.
Okay, but cool. Nice, very nice. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay. Amco is asking, what kind of lubricant do you use when drawing wire, and how do you apply it?
You can use a bit of oil, a bit of 3-in-1 oil, a bit of engineering oil. You can use a little bit of Burlife. I don't have it in here. I thought I had it on my top there, but I don't. There's a little bit of Burlife that usually sits on the side of my peg downstairs. And what you do, as you pull the wire through the draw plate, it gets quite warm. And as soon as you draw it through the draw plate, you then would just rub it through the wax. You what am I talking about? You pull it through the wax, or you pull it through the cut lube, so you get a little bit of the wax, a little bit of the candle wax or whatever, or beeswax onto the wire. So then as you pull it through, it'll coat the wire as it goes through. Failing that is then you start to bring the draw plate. There's the hole, there's this here, you've got the wire here, you've made it into a little bit of a point, the point sticking through. You add a little bit of oil at this point by here, where this is by here. So the oil penetrates in here, lubricates that, and then as you pull the wire through that way, the wire then will be lubricated by the little pocket of oil that's behind the back of the draw plate. But yes, simple 3-in-1 oil, machine oil, light machinist oil like that, or some beeswax or some candle wax should be fine. And when you pull it through the first time, it is quite warm. As I said, just pull it through a bit of candle wax, rub a bit of candle wax on it, and it should be nice and lubricated. Next question, please, Louise.
The clock hands were for earrings and a pendant.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
The way I said it sounds like the best idea, because if you try and make a mold, a 2-part mold, we have one part and the other part, it may be too thin for the metal to go, molten metal to go through, to fill it up in one go, depends on the depth. So you could try a 2-part Delft clay mold, or an open mold. Open mold, you're going to need a bit of cleaning up to do, because when you pour that metal into the top, you're going to have to try and file it all back. So providing the metal is at least a millimetre and a half thick, a 2-part Delft clay mold should be just about fine for you. Next question, please, Louise.
Yes. Janet is making a bangle from sheet, but don't have a long enough piece of sheet. Can I solder 2 strip ends? Can I solder 2 strips end to end, and will the 2 joints be strong? And what's the alternative?
I would try and perhaps make a feature of it. To make a simple butt joint.
Didn't say a word.
You didn't, but I was just
didn't
waiting.
say a word.
So you have a piece like this. If you make a butt joint like that, it's not going to be very strong. It's going to be a join. You're going to see it no matter what. You can always try and make a lap joint, where you have one piece that is at an angle that way and the other piece that's an angle that way. So you increase the surface area. Does that make sense? But again, you're going to see the solder joints. What I would like to do, if that was the case, would be to try and perhaps have a simple butt joint like that, but perhaps put a piece of decoration on the top of it. So you have your piece of metal looking down top, there's your join there. You could get away with perhaps, I don't know, depends on what you're going to be doing. It's also going to be very thin as well, this distance across here, so leaving that on its own, it's likely that the metal is going to snap, is going to break due to perhaps the flexing. So I know when you make a bangle, there's only then you've got 1 solder joint in it, but if you do that, you're going to have 2 solder joints. So you may be able to get away with it, but why not just make a bit of a decoration about it? Perhaps have it overlapped like that. Perhaps have it overlapped, but make a bit of a decoration like that. So the one piece here is like this, do you know what I mean? It's like a decoration like that. And on the other side, then you can make another idea like that and make a feature of it, have 2 different metals. Perhaps you could stamp out some discs and put random discs and make sure you have, you know, your discs around the place like that, covering over the join just to give that a bit more strength as well. And then to disguise the rest of it, you could a brushed pattern or Hammer it to get a nice hammered texture as well, and that perhaps would hide the rest of it as well. It does work, but it's not the best way. But those ways of doing it, then you should be okay with it. I've run out of sweets now.
I've eaten them all, sorry. Do you want these? I've got...
Oh, pennies, yes, please, thank you. Next question, please, Louise.
Okay.
I'll give you one. So you
no,
can
don't give it to me, I need to...
So you can choke on it. I don't mean, not for you to choke on it, but you normally choke on chocolate, don't you? Cough on chocolate, I should say. Next question,
Charming.
please.
Okay, Andreas is asking the best... No, I'll choke on it now. Andreas is asking the best transparent liquid to polish coral. Please. When you finish stuffing your face with chocolate, Andrew.
Transparent liquid to polish coral.
The best transparent liquid to polish coral.
I don't know. A coral we're not allowed to have anymore, are we? Because it's endangered.
Oh, okay.
It's endangered. It's a natural thing that you're not supposed to have
like
anymore.
Ivory, but not quite as controversial as ivory. Obviously,
yeah, I think you can sell. Is it coral? I don't know. I really don't. You have to ask a lepidurist for that to see if they would
Anybody
recommend.
in the chat know?
Yep. Does anybody?
Okay.
Sorry, I really couldn't help you with that. I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, what kind of coral? Sponge. Okay. Slurry of cerium oxide, Susan's saying. Okay. Okay, James is saying, my friend has given me a broken silver bracelet that the jewellers she took it to won't repair because it was made from rupees. Any reason why it isn't repairable by silver soldering?
Rupees, as in coins. Rupees.
I think so, yeah.
What have we got then?
Let's have a look, shall we?
Perhaps they didn't want to.
91.7% silver. Perhaps it was just an excuse. Yeah.
I reckon that sounds like a.
Sounds like a bit of a.
But it's all very well. I think if you're unsure about any work, it's always best to refuse it rather than go ahead and try and repair it in case the whole thing falls apart or in case you ruin it. Especially if you're working on some foreign silver, foreign metals, you just don't know what it is, you don't know what's been done before. Someone could have lead soldered it and then you come along with silver solder and the whole thing falls apart, which has happened quite a few times before. So I would be very, very careful. If you can be sure there's no other solder joints on it and make sure there's no lead solder or anything like that, have a go at soldering it. But if it's 917, silver, I see no reason.
Silver, yeah.
So I see no reason why not. Absolutely, yeah. Have a go. Yeah, but just take good care. And if you're out of your depth, don't do it. Rupee jewellery now, yeah.
Okay, yeah, anyway.
Next question,
Would
please.
you like another one? Lisa, I have treated myself to a Fordham pendant motor SR today.
Nice.
And wondered which accessories would you suggest to use with it? I have a quick release version.
Nice, okay, brilliant, excellent. Okay, first thing I would do is go out and buy some sanding drums. Just like that. So sanding drums, you can make your own, but to be honest, I'm really lazy and these are far more convenient. It's a 2.35mm shaft and the emery paper is wrapped around and held on with a little bit of sellotape on the bottom like that. You can make your own, don't get me wrong, but I find they tend to be a little bit more flappy, as you can see. You can get them in various grits as well. This is something that I would get, some various grits, something like a 320 grit, 400, 600, something like that. And these are ideal for getting on the inside of ring shanks. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. My other most favorite thing that I would definitely get, depending where you are in the world, need to get these. These are the white bristle brushes. Don't get natural hair or natural goat's hair because I find they tend to shed. You have it on a too high a speed and the hairs will shed, they'll stick into you and you'll be itching all day because but these white nylon brushes, again 2.35mm shanks, these are about 19mm. I would definitely get these. You would use them with some Tripoli definitely use that, and that is the best thing, I think, for things like pre-polishing, for the insides of shanks, for the outside of shanks, and then just get yourself like a little carousel like this thing here. If you want to do polishing, those are really good things. What else we got on here? These sort of ideas. We've got some felt mops. You then can start getting some burrs as well. Yeah, just start getting a collection. Get a little turntable like this, or you can buy the little block that is something sort of that sort of size with all holes in, and just start building up a little collection of the things. You can't go wrong with little these felt bullet mops. You can get some little like Scotch-Brite wheels, but anything like that would be absolutely ideal. But yeah, you certainly won't look backwards. You won't, is that
Won't look back?
You won't look back. Yeah, you won't look back once you've got your flex shaft. Absolutely. But yeah, the white nylon brushes are a number one. You've got to try and get them. They are the best.
Some info on the rupee bracelet.
Yeah.
Apparently, it is not legal in all countries, Sandy says. On jewellery, it's not legal in all countries.
Really?
And one Badood is saying the coins always belong to the government. So
really?
that, yeah, with that effect.
But then there are people in this country who cut out old coins.
Perhaps it's
And
legal in this country,
if it's
perhaps it's not
out of circulation, you can do what you want to them then, can't you? I think. Perhaps that is the case. Perhaps it was part of a different country that they're not supposed to play around with coins. Don't know.
Yep.
Interesting.
Okay,
Interesting question.
One to research, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me, Cosmo. The same question as okay. How do you set uneven stones like Hermica diamonds? I have tried bezel and claws, but it didn't work.
Well, we had these stones, didn't we? They're like the natural sort of crystal shapes.
They look a bit like quartz.
We were discussing this, weren't we, on about claw setting, having claws coming round.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think claw setting is going to be the best for that. Okay,
Ooh,
so
that's an interesting one.
that's pretty hard
That
to do.
doesn't look very nice.
No. Okay. So perhaps what I would do is get perhaps 3 pieces of wire, overlap them, solder them by here. Yep. And then you've got, I presume the side view of the diamond is going to look like that. Then there's the crossover. Then you would get one claw to come up here. You get one claw to come up, one claw to come up, one claw to come up, and just bend. And then you can actually put a jumping on the end to suspend it. That may be the best idea. Bezel setting's pretty awkward, I think. 7.5.
Because would you have to be careful of impact points as well and think about if it's irregular, would you have to protect anywhere which could potentially be?
I think if it's from a pendant, I wouldn't have thought it'd matter too much.
Okay.
If it was set within a ring, perhaps you'd take a lot more care with it. But something like that on a claw setting for a pendant may be pretty good. If you want to sort of play around with things like tension settings, you can make your shank nice and thick like that. Make a bit of that sort of shape in either face, because this is your shank here, and you make a bit of a, I gotta think of this now, haven't I? How does it go? Da, 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 da. Yeah. So that's the shank coming round, isn't it? Yes, there we go, like that. And then your diamond then would fit into that sort of shape like that. And that would be held under tension within your metal.
Cosme, I know it's really hard, they easily break.
7.5 on the Mohs. If you're going to do it within a ring, perhaps not like that, but perhaps within a claw setting, definitely. But you'll have to get some on and have a look at them, because if they're not obviously diamonds, are they?
No, they look like just clear quartz, don't they?
Yeah. So yeah, we'll have to look into that. Have to try and get some, to do a project on them. Sounds good to me.
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
Next question.
Total Coolness is asking, what do you do when you've over annealed a piece? I went ahead and watched your video on annealing and it was very helpful, but I already messed up a few before that.
I really don't know. I think not many people would actually over anneal a piece, because if you over anneal too much, you're going to start to melt it. I don't really think it would matter too much to the metal itself. I think the most important part is getting it to be in its annealed state. Over annealed, I don't know. I'd have to look that up on the internet, I think. To be honest, I don't know. Does it become more porous? Does it become more crystalline? I really don't know. If it does, hammer it, burnish it, roll it with the rolling mill, make it a little bit more compact perhaps. But I really, really don't know. Yes, they are quartz, the diamond shapes, so yeah. That would account for the Mohs only 7.5 then. Interesting. I think that also Natalia, going back to the pendant motor just now, she mentioned about how long do the brushes last. The white nylon brushes, they will last you for quite a while. I wear them down until there's hardly anything left. I've still got some life left in this one here, as you can see. This is one that we've used for quite a bit, and that's in that's a new one, and that's okay. But you can still use them, and this is the reason why I love these brushes, because the bits of hair don't come flying out. I used to use goat's hair a long time ago, but they do tend to be, they just shed and they stick in you. But the white nylon brushes like that, you can run them quite fast and they will last you for quite a while. Maybe have our next question then, please.
Okay, Stoyle is asking, what can be the shortest time for flask in furnace? My cycle is 11.5 hours. Flask is with about 600 grams of investment.
I can, what was mine? Yeah, 600 grams. So I think we can get ours down to, we start at 9 o'clock in the morning, we cast at 5. So we can do it in, what's that, 8 hours. And I think that's about the shortest time that I have ever done. And that's what I usually do. I think it takes, I have to have a look at the information that I've got. I think I got I use Kerr Investments chart. I think it goes up to about an hour to the right temperature, stays it there for about an hour, hour and a half, up to about 150 degrees. Wax comes out, then it slowly ramps up, gets held at, I can't remember what the temperatures are now, and it comes back down. Anyway, I've done it in about 8 hours. And I don't like to leave the premises with a kiln on. I think that's, I know it's safe, but I wouldn't like to leave a kiln on its own, 800, 900,000 degrees and it's bright red hot and there's nobody here. Wouldn't want to chance it. But yeah, check out some of the lost wax casting times on the internet. I think mine was Kerr. I'd have to go and have a look. But yeah, check them out. 8 hours is about the shortest I've done. Next question, please.
Lisa's asking about the courses. Any news on the courses yet?
That's what I said, and I said no. No. That's what we were talking about. Okay. Yes.
But you can take a Gemology Rocks course in the meantime while you're waiting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Put the post up again.
Post the link up again. Give you something to do while you're waiting. Okay. Nikki is asking, can you talk about the silver's melting point? How many times can we melt it back, etc.? Why my silver balls are not nice and smooth but wrinkly? Okay,
sometimes your balls are wrinkly because when you, Louise, please, thank you.
Didn't say anything.
No, that childish laugh. So a lot of the time when you're melting the balls, if you just pull the flame away slowly, the balls will cool down more slowly and they won't become wrinkled. You take the flame off too quick, they contract too quickly, the surface will go, oh, like that. It'll go, oh, I do like my sound effects when it comes to metal, because metal's pretty quiet, isn't it? Oh, like that. And you get wrinkled balls. But if you keep the flame on it and just take the flame away slowly so the metal cools down slowly, the ball should be fine. How many times can metal be melted down? I'm sure it can be melted down umpteen times. I'm sure that every time you melt it down, you will burn away some of the properties. So perhaps it won't be as nice and as good as the first time you do it. So that's why whenever you do some lost wax casting, you should always, in theory, or delft clay casting or cuttlefish casting, put at least 50% brand new metal in there, perhaps then with an old sprue. So you've always got that brand new metal in there, just keeping the quality of that metal nice so it doesn't deteriorate too much. And if you find that your metal is really had it, well then I would always perhaps put it to one side, send it off to the refiners and get some fresh metal in. I wouldn't try and risk it. Maybe have another what's it called? Question. That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Susan has recommended that you say spheres, Andrew, which probably does.
Spheres.
Quite.
It's funny, you're as bad as Jason, because you've only just got to say balls in a conversation to Jason, and Jason goes. Yes, spheres. Okay. Next question then, please, Louise.
Okay. Oh, Lorraine is asking about the raffle. No, that's not done yet. That is still on the way.
We are. Do you know what? Where does the time go? Seriously, where does the time go? I don't know how I had a chance to run the shop.
Well, I think when the shop's closed, perhaps we realise how much Sharon does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason, no.
No, I'm done, Jason. Yeah. Oh, you're so nasty, aren't you?
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Let's have another question.
Next question.
If there's nothing coming in, that's why I didn't say Jason, because he works at the bench, and if there's nothing coming in for him to do, then obviously he doesn't do anything administrative.
There's nothing in his head for anything anyway,
oh,
is
right,
there?
Yeah. I'm not turning this into a Jason bashing session again now. Let's have another question. Kevin is asking, I'm trying to cast items, but they are not filling the cast. I poured out the silver. It only fills half the mould.
What mould is it? We need to know. Is it cuttlefish? Is it delft clay? We need to know what mould it is. Yep.
Oh yeah. Can we have some more? Just looking at the chat.
We need to know what type of mould. Is it delft clay? Is it cuttlefish? Let me know what type of mould it is. Yeah. Thank you, Lorraine, for that.
Right.
We'll come back. We'll come back to that. The mould isn't filling up.
Please give us some more detail, Kevin. Shirley is asking, what do you think is the most popular jewellery item you make, e.g. rings, bangles, pendants, etc.?
I suppose the most popular things we make in the shop are going to be rings, aren't they? Rings are the most worn. Rings, I'd say, then earrings and then pendants, in that sort of order. But earrings, no. I'd say rings, pendants and earrings sort of last, because you don't make that many pairs of earrings, really. Depends. I think people tend to have rings, don't they? They bring rings in
bangles,
from
quite a lot
relevant.
of bangles, I think.
That's because we were doing with our textured plates.
Yeah, but before that, people come in and... tends to be modifications more than anything, doesn't it? People want things, what they've got. Yeah. So what do we make the most, or what do we make the most then? We make the most rings? I would think so.
Yeah, I think rings are the most popular because you've got 10 fingers, haven't you? Or 9, no, that's 8, isn't it? 8 fingers and 2 thumbs, but you've only got 1 neck. to wear a chain on, perhaps 2 chains. You've only got 1 pair of ears, unless it's somebody like you who have about 4 or 5 holes in their ears. Then you can wear umpteen and multiple pairs of earrings.
Yeah, you've got to be careful though, haven't you?
With what?
With what you wear. So you've got to have like sets, haven't you?
Yeah.
Otherwise it just looks a bit not properly thought out.
Yeah, but rings are always popular because people sort of wear them halfway down their finger as well. I've seen one woman once.
Oh, I'd be scared it would fall off.
Down there. Yeah.
I don't like that.
No, okay.
What's that? That's new, isn't it? Is it new? I haven't seen that.
The lady from the dry cleaner's daughter wanted a ring that only came down as far as by there. By
Yeah,
there.
but-
Not by here, by there. Or
By there.
wherever, by there.
You sounded really well.
By
She said,
there.
by there.
Just
Over by there.
Just by there, like. Just by there. Next question.
What, oh, no.
No?
No, thank you.
Okay.
No. Okay.
Have you ever worn a thumb ring before?
Yes, yeah. In fact, we had somebody came in and wanted a spinning ring for the thumb, and I said, how does that, because you're not going to, you want to go like that, and you need to go like that.
But
Anyway.
I've worn like a thumb ring in the past, and I find sometimes it's quite restrictive around your thumb. Don't know, it causes like an ache in my
annoying.
thumb. Yeah.
An ache. Okay. Okay. What time is it? 5 minutes. Okay. Let's see. If you have a choice, do you prefer palladium WG?
Or white gold.
White gold. Oh, yeah. Palladium wig, I reckon.
Do you prefer nice platinum wig? Or in the evenings, or I'm in the comfort of my own home. I would not have if I was making something, if I was working with something, I would always perhaps use platinum as opposed to palladium. Platinum is very nice to work with. White gold is okay, you do have to rhodium plate it. Palladium would not be a choice for me to make up in. I'd always try and use platinum first of all, and if the customer doesn't want it in platinum, but then white gold would be the case for that, yes. Have we come back with Kevin with his casting?
Kevin? Oh, I forgot to look at this end. Hang on. No.
Okay.
Not yet.
What's Nikki talking about Cookson just then? Plus golden bets.
Can I just ask you a question which popped up earlier?
Yes.
We might not get to it. It was Sandra asked about torches. Can't find the jeweller's Sievert torch in
You
Canada.
won't.
Will buy a Smith's little torch, but how do I choose gas type? So Susan has suggested propane and air or oxygen. Oxygen is hotter, but I think Sandra was concerned with propane. Heard it's a heavier gas and sinks to the floor. Is that dangerous for my cat?
No, because when it comes out, it's burnt and it goes into the atmosphere. It doesn't come out and settle on the floor.
I think it was just a bit of a safety.
Yeah, if you open the gas and the gas comes out in the open air, it is heavier than air, and then it will settle on the floor. But that's a little torch. I know this is butane, okay, but you do that and you light it. That little bit that comes out is negligible. It sort of disappears in the room. It doesn't end up on the floor, so to speak. No. But no, you should be fine. Propane and oxygen, I'd always have. You can get oxygen tanks. They tend to be quite expensive because you've got to have the hire for the tank. A lot of people are using oxycons, oxygen converters nowadays, and you can get special adapters for that, which is really good. That then doesn't need to have any oxygen tanks. You simply have your little propane tank and your oxygen converter for that as well.
Jack has asked if you thought about making a comprehensive don'ts video about such things as don't apply heat to pearls. Some gemstones are extremely brittle, etc.
No.
Well, we did. We talked about the safety. You could do it in the style of like a 1970s public service announcement.
What,
you
with
could have
the moustache?
you could have me right in the workshop just going, Andrew, I'm just gonna put this emerald in the ultrasonic bath, and I go like that, and then you go, wait, and I go, and then you say why I shouldn't do it.
And we had to do it in black and white.
I'll wear like a 70s.
And I'll have to wear a suit with like a moustache and go, wait, do you realise what you're doing there? Okay, we'll try and do something like that, shall we?
Don't want to distract from the seriousness though, yeah.
Do a public service announcement when it comes to do's and don'ts within the workshop. That'd be quite fun to do. I do like the sound of that. Nice.
Okay. Do you want another question?
Yes, please.
I think I just skipped one. Joe's asking, are all Lemel tins the same measurements for various benches?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. Let's have a look.
Because they're all semicircular. So what if I was making a bench, I would buy the tin first of all, and then I would then cut my circular, semicircular cutout in accordance with the tin. So I would always buy the tin first, then do the cutout. Unless you've bought a bench with a cutout already, then you're stuck. Then you have to then put the tin underneath. But yeah, I'd always buy the tin first and then do the cutout.
Okay.
Next question.
Lee is asking, if you put a copper piece in your pickle, can you still use the pickle for silver pieces?
Yes, you can, because I did that the other day. I put some silver, no, I put some copper in there because I had some new copper, no I didn't, start again. Yes, you can put copper in your pickle because I put some copper in there the other day because I was doing those sample strips from those new texture plates I had. And I heated them up. And I put them in the silver, what's this thing called again? I'm still waiting for my new pickle pot to come. But yes, you can. Because if you keep putting copper, this is a white container. And in fact, I wonder if you can see this on the overhead camera. Can you see this has a very, very slight blue. You can just about see in that area by there. So that has a very slight blue tinge to it. So I wouldn't want to keep putting copper in there and then put silver in there. No, but that, you can just see a little bit of blue. That's the copper sulfate in the solution. So that should be fine. I've had about 4 or 5 pieces of copper in there and I think you should be fine with that. Next question then, please. I think it's virtually time as well, isn't it?
It's gone so fast, isn't it?
5:02.
Okay, Inez is asking, is it true that when soldering gold it's okay to focus heat on the spot to be soldered, while for silver always heat up the whole piece?
Not necessarily. The problem that you've got is that you mustn't overheat the solder. So in one respect, it could be the opposite way around because you don't want to heat the whole piece of silver for fear of fire scale, perhaps. So you would perhaps put the heat a bit more localized on the silver so the rest of the silver doesn't heat up too much and you won't get a fire scale. I don't know why I've got my pen out. I must point go on the board with this. So no, you mustn't, oh, that's what I was going to do. There's a sheet and we want to, so that's the cross section through one piece of metal and this is the cross section through the other piece of metal, and here's my bit of solder that I've just dabbed on top. Here's the flux, here's the flux. So what you don't want to do is put the flame here directly on the solder. That's the last thing that you want to do, because what's going to happen is that this little bit of solder is going to melt. Brilliant, but the rest of the metal here is not going to be up to the correct temperature. So by keeping the torch on this little pallion of solder here, you're going to overheat this, you're going to burn away all the alloys or the qualities of the solder, the flowing capability that solder has got, and you're going to burn it away. So by the time this metal down here has heated up, the solder really isn't going to flow because you've ruined it. So what you would do is you would put your flame more so by here on this area, because this is people's perceptions of soldering. Okay, you have to get this out of your head. It is not the flame that does the soldering. It is not the flame that melts the solder. Don't think of the flame on the solder, because if this metal is not the right temperature, even though this is rolled into a ball and it's going, oh, I want to melt, I want to spread over the whole bit of metal. If this bit of metal here is not the right temperature, the solder will not flow. Okay, so no matter how much you heat up this ball, if this metal is not the right temperature, the solder will not flow. So, what do? Here's your flux, here's your pallion of solder, here's your flux on here, lovely protecting the joint, okay? What you do, you heat up the metal. When the metal is hot enough, how hot is hot enough, Andrew? Good question. Look at the colour of your flux. If you're using borax, it's a good indication of when the solder is going to be my last question. This is going to go on another few minutes, I think. Unless you want to pick another one for after this. I'm getting excited
you're getting
now.
Frothy again.
Frothy. Who says that? Who says we're getting frothy?
Susan, you get frothy. Get frothy again, Susan.
So what you do, you heat up the metal. It is the metal that melts the solder. And if this gets up to the right temperature, okay, for the solder to flow, the solder will melt. If there's no flame, you put the flame down here, okay? This is a one big torch, okay? You're heating this metal here. There's no flame on that bit of solder whatsoever. You heat up the metal heats up, gets hotter, gets hotter, gets hotter. There's borax on the surface here. There's borax that's flowed between the joints through capillary action. There's no flame on that solder whatsoever. Providing that bit of solder is in contact with the metal, because it has to be, and this metal gets to the correct temperature, that solder will melt and go bleh and flow through the joint, okay? Guaranteed. If the metal is not the right temperature, the solder will not flow. If the flame is up here and you have the solder and the solder is in a ball and go, oh, it's not melting my bit of metal. My solder's melted, but it's not flowing. The reason being, could be flux isn't on there, could be scale, could be whatever, could be oil, but it's usually because the metal is not the right temperature. If the metal is the right temperature, the solder will flow. What was the question again?
I can't remember.
Oh, that's right. Is it? Do you put the flame on? No, you always
hang on, let me
do this way. And calm.
Yes. So you're right with that then?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Go on. One more question then, please.
Okay.
Go on.
Don't look, Andrew, don't look.
What?
Don't look.
At what?
Don't look at the chest.
Take a chill pill.
Okay. Don't look.
And it's usually because whatever, there was a gentleman who was melting some metal in a crucible, brilliant, but he was there, he said, for half an hour. He was a member of At the Bench and he approached me on our feedback and we discussed things this way. So if you're a member of At the Bench, you get direct access to me as well. Just remember that. But what he had a house brick that he was resting the crucible on. And the problem is a house brick will suck the heat away. You need something that will reflect the heat back onto what you're doing. So whether you're melting down, you use your soldering blocks, your solder boards, your solderite boards like this. You do not use a house brick or a patio brick or anything like that because that saps the heat away, acts as a heat sink. You want something that will reflect the heat back on what you're doing. Last question then, please, Louise.
Okay, let's have a look. Don't look. Let's see. Oh my gosh, I've lost my questions. Okay, let's use this one. You pick one.
Stop there.
No, not there. There. Okay, try there.
Yeah, the GI has charts for what's good, what's bad, yeah. Where can I get this cycle? I presume you mean the cycle for the lost wax casting. Just check out, I'm sure it's Kerr investment ones I've got. What's the other brands I got? I'll have a look now in a second. I'll go and have a look. You choose a question. Let me just quickly run into the other room and get my burnout cycle if I can see it. Okay. You're on camera now, so don't pick your nose.
If you like, eh? What question shall we have? I can't remember how far we got. How far did we get?
Yes, it was Kerr, but I don't know what the cycle is. I'd have to look it up on the internet to have a look. Got a question?
No.
They're
all so good.
I've been asked to make an 18 carat 3-colour gold plated bracelet with the wire about 2 millimeters thick. Is this possible, advisable to do without it looking clumsy? Yes, it is possible. 2 millimeter thick, you'd have to. Now, I would perhaps melt the end together or solder the 3 wires together first of all, just so they don't come undone. And yes, you're going to waste a little bit, but you can incorporate that into the price. What I would do is, you have the 3 pieces of wire, don't you? 1, 2, I'm not going to be able to draw this at all, am I? 3, yeah. So you have your 3 pieces of wire, and what I would do is really, really carefully get the wire. I would then get a pair of parallel pliers and try and clamp the wire with the pliers, or get someone to do that. Then you bend the wire purposefully across. Make sure you get the one wire nice and tight up against the other wire. I can't even draw. How do you draw? I can't even draw plaited. Yeah, that will go underneath perhaps. Do you know what? I don't know how to draw plaited. Can you draw? And then when you bend this wire, purposefully bend it. Purposely bend it like that, yeah? And then make sure you flatten these, then get the next wire, then, I don't know where it comes from, underneath or around the outside, and purposefully bend it and get each bend gorgeous into position, and the next one, and get them there so they're all lined up. Practice it on some silver first, and then when you do the one twist like this, clamp it or squash it with your pliers, and then get the next one and just twist it purposefully around. But you can do, did I do a twist? I think I did a twist, a plait that way. Or you could always cheat as well and not make a plait where it goes under and over and under and over, and just get the 3 strands all soldered together straight. Then twist them so they're all going, yeah, so they're all a twist like that. So that's the one colour there, that's the other colour there, that's the other colour there, yep, and that's one colour, that's another colour, and so forth, yep. And then hammer it or flatten it then with a saw, so then they will all open up a bit and you get a bit of the next metal coming up from underneath. Yeah, does that make sense? And then it all opens up and it looks like it's plaited, but it's not. It's an open twist, and that would be a good way of doing it as well. But if you're going to use 18 karat wire, please practice it with some silver first of all. Definitely do that. Finished now. Rant over with my soldery.
Lie down now.
Everyone, thank you all very much for joining us today on our question and answer.
Taking it out of you, wasn't it, that last little rant?
I do get my hair off now and again, don't I? I must admit. But this is the thing. There's a lot of bad advice given. There really is, and people believe what is written or what is put in Facebook groups or what's being taught in universities. I'm not knocking universities, but certain things are taught the wrong way and the techniques are taught the wrong way. And this is the problem with, and this is the problem I'm going to have a bit of a rant about it now, is that when people come out of universities and they do their PGCEs and they can go straight into teaching, and they've got no experience, especially when it comes to jewellery. I think if I went into a university now and decided to teach, I wouldn't, but if I thought I'll go into university and I will teach, and they say, what qualifications have you got? I will say, I've got 30 years experience. And they go, no, but what qualifications have you got to teach? And I go, I've got 30 years experience. And they go, we don't want
a degree.
That doesn't mean anything. That does not mean anything. If they, it does. Okay, well, I'm not knocking it, but I'm saying you've got to have experience.
It doesn't replace.
Yeah, they will say, yes, but you've got to be able to teach. And they'll say, well, you need like a PGCE or a teaching certificate, that sort of thing. And I'll say, I don't, because that is rubbish. Because I'll say anyone can get that. But it takes years and years to gain the experience to be able to teach. And someone can come out of university or do their teaching certificate. I'm not knocking anybody, please don't get me wrong here. This is what I'm just thinking. If people come out of a university, because I know when I went to university, there was a guy who was literally 1 year older than me, who'd done his PGCE, came back into the same university and started teaching. But what is he teaching? He's only been teaching what he's been taught over the last 3 years. He's not teaching a wealth of experience that he's had.
You're describing exactly Henry Mintzberg, but not exactly, but Henry Mintzberg, who's like a business guru, wrote a book. I don't know what you really write it. It's called Managers Not MBAs, and it's basically education versus experience.
Yeah, and all you're doing then, you're just regurgitating. And if you keep regurgitating the same old stuff, it's not necessarily right. Don't get me wrong, certain things are right, but you're just regurgitating and you're just being taught bad, or you're teaching bad techniques that you've been taught, but you haven't found out the best way of doing it. So this is the reason why I rant about things like this, about soldering, because people are being taught the wrong ways by people who have been told that is how you do it. And I totally disagree with a lot of things that have gone on. You know, when I do, are you been making rings the wrong way on YouTube? I got slated for that, but I got praised for that because you're being taught the wrong way, because everyone's been told this is the way you do it and this is the way the book shows it. But if someone comes along with 30, 40, 50 years experience, listen to that person, because they know they've done all the bad mistakes, they've made all the errors, and they then have picked up all the correct ways of teaching. So if I went into university, I'd say to your qualifications, because I've got the experience and you want me to teach someone the right way so they get it right the first time. Sorry, if I step.
You were the last 5 minutes in employment, though, because you break too many rules.
I wouldn't want to. And I wouldn't want to teach, because when you go into an establishment, you've got to think about this, that, and the other. You've got things to do. You've got your notes to make. You've got to do this. You've got that. You've got meetings. You can keep all that. I will do what I'm carrying on doing here because I'm happy doing what I'm doing.
Finished. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, and if you happen to be obviously watching this on YouTube and you want to leave me a comment, please do so down below. After my little rant and you're still here, well done for listening all the way to the end. And if you want to leave me a little note, please do. I'd love to read it, and let me know what you think about, what did you say his name was?
Mintzberg. I'm
Mintzberg?
Sure he was
About
Mintzberg.
Management versus MBAs.
Managers, not MBAs. Can remember there's MBAs, not managers, but managers, not MBAs, yeah.
Okay, they are managers, not MBAs. Exactly. What's the outcome of it? Do we know? There's good.
I don't know. I've not read it. I just know it exists.
There are goods and bads in it all, but I'm sorry, you cannot teach bad techniques that you picked up from somebody with no experience. Thank you, Beth. Do appreciate it. Practice is better. It jolly well is. No D-rings. Thank you, Susan. See, everyone understands. Climb aboard. Right. Thank you very much for joining us for the question and answer today. We'll be back the 25th of January for our next question and answer. As Romy says, give this film a thumbs up if you like it.
Thank you, Romy.
And I do apologise if I've gone on a little bit too much. Check out the Gemology Rocks courses. Kerry's
Facebook page.
And the Facebook page as well. Don't forget, if you want to join Kerry on Fridays for gin and gemstones.
You have to supply your own gin.
Oh yeah, you do have to supply.
She doesn't send you the gin.
You have to supply your own drink. Gin and gemstones, 6 p.m. on a Friday on Gemology Rocks' Facebook. You can join us there because we're going to try and look in this week, aren't we? We didn't manage it this week, did we? Last week, because we were too busy having a drink and finishing off the rest of the alcohol that we left over from Christmas.
Yes.
Please don't. I'm not knocking MBAs. I've got a degree myself, and I'm not knocking qualifications. I'm not knocking that.
I've got a huge amount of respect for anybody who undertakes any sort of higher education.
Absolutely.
Like that.
All I'm knocking is experience. All I'm knocking. I'm not really knocking anybody. I'm just telling you my experience and what I have felt going through a degree course in university. And I've got my Bachelor of Arts degree as well. And
I think if you're that committed to learning something and you're that passionate to learn something, then that's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's best when combined with experience, isn't it? Especially in something as practical as what we're doing here.
Yes. So perhaps that's what I'm saying.
Please don't misunderstand.
No.
that.
Yeah. So perhaps I'm not knocking them. What you need is your qualification and experience, definitely. But experience is the main factor here. Absolutely.
Well, and MBAs, but
And MBAs.
Yeah.
You get the general gist. All right. It's not wine. We are gonna have 4 days dry, aren't we, Louise?
Yes.
4 days dry this week. We're cutting down. We're slowly going through the Christmas alcohol. We do have a wine rack of like 40 bottles of wine still, but from what we made.
What a boast! What a boast!
All right, everyone, thank you very much for joining us today. Please leave us a little comment below the film. Just interested to hear what you've got to say regarding the qualifications and so forth. Everyone, take care. We will see you all next week for another question and answer. 25th of God, we need to be the end of January.
Where's the time going?
And hopefully we'll have some progress on our essential piercing course. Who knows? Right, take care, everybody. Have a lovely week. We will catch you. And if you're around on the Facebook, Gemology Rocks, Friday, 6 p.m, we will hopefully see you there.
We're going to be there this week.
You'll be there this week. If you turn up, just let Kerry know that I sent you there and have a chat. And everyone, I must agree with you, Andrew. Speaking from a former school teacher, as a mature student, I felt that my years of experience did not matter as much as my qualification. I felt that my years of it did not. Yeah.
I think it's just such a good, solid footing and foundation for continuing your lifelong learning, isn't it?
Yes.
If you're committed to doing something like that, then
yeah. I think that's
definitely.
very true.
You don't want to be misunderstood on that at all. It's not something we respect 100%.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Take care. We will see you all next week for another question and answer.
No, I haven't got the slide in place. I'm just going to go because you haven't given me a new slide.
I must do the slide. See, we're just lacking on everything, aren't we, today? And thank you, everybody. Do appreciate it. Thank you for all the comments today. Sorry we didn't get round to your comments. Do apologise for that. But we'll see you. Gemology Rocks.
Gemology Rocks.
On
not
YouTube.
Not geology. Gemology.
Yeah, Gemology. Bear with.
Do you want the link? I have the link.
Gemology.
It's spelt because you guys in America spell it with one M, don't you? And I think we spell it with two
M's. Could be.
I think.
Yeah.
So it could be. Oh, heck, what's happening here now? I've lost my chat. Try that one.
Try that one.
Yeah, 2 M's. Spelt the British way, I think.
Yeah, there's 2 M's. Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
2 M's. So there we go. There's a Facebook group there. Click on it. Join Kerry. Message her. Say that Louise and Andrew sent you to there, which would be fantastic if you don't mind. And we'll see you there on Gemology Rocks as well. We'll be in the chat listening and watching on Friday. And we will see you all back here next Monday for another question and answer. Take care. We will all see you next week. Have a lovely week. Bye for now. Bye.